All right, so back at it with a little bit of algebra today. All right, we're going to continue our conversation about graphing quadratics, and we're going to look at a second form called standard form to graph. And to begin today, we're going to do a couple warm-up problems, just like you did in the previous lesson, graphing quadratics in vertex form. And we're going to talk about what is similar about the two forms, kind of what's different as we go through those. So what I'd like you to do now, as you can see that we have two warm-ups right there, is I'd like to go ahead and pause the video this morning, all right, or this afternoon or this evening or whenever you're doing this video, and do those two problems, turn it back on, and we'll see how you did. All right. So hopefully you didn't have any troubles graphing these two quadratics. We've done a lot of graphing this semester, this year, with this particular form. I'm going to click over here. All right, as I have them already worked. And what we know is that our process when we're graphing quadratics, all right, is that we have to identify that vertex first. And the nice thing about vertex formula is that we can see the vertex in the equation. So this is -1, -5, so that's our vertex. So we're going to start -1, -5. Our a value is 1. Once again, that's the constant out here in front. So I'm going to go up 1 to the right one, up 1 to the left one for our first set of points. And then we want to do 3a, and this time 3 times 1 is 3. So now I'm going to go up from this point, up 3 to the right one, from this point up 3 to the left one, and then I'm going to draw my curve. And then I'm done. All right, we look at our second example over here, our second warm-up problem here. Our vertex for this particular one would be 2, 3. So you can see that I started at 2, 3. This time our a value is negative, all right, which means our graph is going to open down, all right. And so we're going to take that -2, which is our a value. That's going to be our first 2 points. Down 2 to the right one, down 2 to the left one, and then 3a this time would be -6. So from here I'm going to go down 6 to the right one, from this point down 6 to the left one. And then there's our two graphs. Now, the good news is the process, and we've kind of said this with lots of things, does not change. What changes sometimes is how do we get the information within that process. So even though we're graphing a different form today, all right, we want that we still want to find the vertex first. Then we still want to use our a value and then 3a and 5a if necessary to graph the rest of our quadratic. The difference is, and let me just scroll back here, all right, go back to this slide here. The difference is when we look at standard form, right? And let me go ahead and summarize. All right, so I wrote some stuff in down here, but so when we think about our steps here, all right, our steps, let me just make sure I have the right kind of pen here, all right. So graphing in vertex form, that first step, there we go. That first step, right, is that we want to find the vertex, right? All right, so that isn't going to change. What's going to change is that when we go to standard form in just a few moments, all right, so we want to find the vertex. What's going to happen is that the vertex isn't going to be obvious, and we're going to have to use a little formula I wrote out for us down below, all right? And then the second step, all right, is that we want to use a, all right, we want to use 3a, and some of the time we might need to use, that's a really big comma, all right, and then some of the time we might use 5a, all right, to plot the rest of our points, right? So that is the process, right? All right, I'm going to abbreviate points here just to save a little bit of time. There we go. So this is still going to be our process. All right, so we want to find the vertex. All right, we still want to do a, 3a, 5a to plot our points. And this is going to be exactly the same. All right, this is where the variance is a little bit in our forms here. So now, all right, so what if we were given a quadratic in standard form? Now, we've talked about standard form a little bit. It's ax squared plus bx plus c. We've been looking at that when we've been factoring. And we've talked about our a value, we've talked about our b value, we've talked about our c value. All right, and so what would we need in order to graph a quadratic function? Like we did in the warm-up, we have to know the vertex, right? So now when it's in this form, we can't see the vertex, all right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with a formula to find the x-coordinate of the vertex for us. All right, and that formula is x equals negative b over 2a. And yes, this b right here is this b in front of the x right here. This a right here is this a right here. Now, we're not going to go through the process of developing this for you. There's something else called the quadratic formula that we're going to get to in a couple lessons, 3 lessons that we're going to use, but we're not going to quite develop for you. It comes from a process called completing the square, which we're not going to cover this year. You'll get to that in Algebra 2, but we are still going to use the tools that we get from that. So, hopefully, if you need to write this down, you can pause the video. Otherwise, I'm going to keep going here. So, once again, now the difference is this is just one step. We can look at the equation, we can find the vertex if it's in vertex form like we did in the warm-up. Here, finding the vertex is this two-step process. We have to find the x-coordinate using our formula, negative b over 2a. All right, then once we know what the x value is, we have to go back and plug it into our equation to find the y value. And then once we have that, then it's just like what we did before. All right, so let's jump to some examples here where we're just going to find, all right, just the vertex. So let's look at our problem right here. So the first thing I'm going to start with is I'm going to write down what our A, B, and C values are so we have those just right in front of us. All right, so in this particular case, A is 1, B is negative 6, and C is 1. All right, so now what we want to do is, notice, can't see the vertex, can't see it. So I'm going to start with my little formula here, and I'm just going to write that little formula up here so we can kind of refer to it. X equals the opposite of B over 2A. And so what we want to do is just plug our values for A and B into this and find our X values. So X equals, and so notice it's the opposite of B. So if B is negative, that makes it a positive number. All right, and then 2 times A in the denominator, so that'd be 2 times 1. All right, so that would be 6 divided by 2, and so our x-coordinate of our vertex is 3. Whew. How about just 3? No, not too far. Oh, my eraser's going off again. All right, just wanted a 3. Just a little 3. Speaking of 3, we watched episode 3 last night for Star Wars, and we started a Star Wars marathon, and so we watched episode 1, episode 2, and then episode 3, and it's amazing how bad they are in spots. Oh my goodness. Oh, just downright awful sometimes. I mean, you know, Yoda jumping up and fighting and spinning around and doing all that, that's incredible. But man, oh my goodness, some of the other parts are just really bad. Oh, so disappointing. Luckily, we're on to Rogue One. So, and if you haven't seen Mandalorian yet, you need to get on it. All right, sorry. All right, back to math. I know, which is really why you're here. You don't want to hear stories about Star Wars. All right, so now, notice we know the x-coordinate of our vertex is 3. We have to find the y-coordinate. All right, so the way we find the y-coordinate is we now want to take this x value and we're going to plug it back in to our equation here. So wherever there's an x, we're going to plug in whatever we get out of this little formula. So now we have y equals, all right, and then we're going to have 3 squared minus 6 times 3, and then plus 1. Now, the good news is now we can come right to our calculator, and we want to type it in just like it looks right here. And if you don't have a calculator, use your phone. Use whatever calculator you have. If you go to the TI website right now, and I'll see if we post this on our website, they're allowing students with everything that's happening to download calculators and download what you see on my screen right here, so you can have it for free. It doesn't cost anything right now. So just use whatever you have, all right? And so I'm just going to type it just like it looks, all right? Parentheses included, all right? And find out what our y value is. So just like that, And there it is. So our y value is negative 8. So this is equal to negative 8. All right, so then, all right, and so there's our vertex. And then notice we know A is 1, so then we would have done down or up 1 to the right one, up 1 to the left one. We know 3A would be 3. So then after that, it's the exact same process that we've talked about so far with graphing. All right, so let's look at the next problem here, and let's go through this one together. All right. Okay, and so once again, I'm just going to start by identifying A, which is in this case still 1. Okay, B, which is 8, and C, which is 15. Now notice for this particular problem, all right, and what we're doing, we don't really use the C value for anything in particular. I mean, it does have an effect down here, but when we get to the quadratic formula, we'll use A, B, and C. So we're still getting used to identifying everything as we work right now. So X equals, all right, and then once again, it's the opposite of B. Opposite of B. So if B is positive, it's going to be a negative B. So we have negative 8, all right, divided by 2 times A, all right, and that gives us negative 8 divided by 2, and that gives us negative 4. All right, and so once again, now what we're going to do is we're just going to take that negative 4, we're going to go back and plug it right into our equation here. All right, so negative 4 squared plus 8 times negative 4, close parentheses, plus 15. All right, and then I'm going to come right over here, and once again, when you're typing in your calculator, type it just like you write it, okay, and then we can get to that answer very quickly. All right, so plus 15. And there it is, it's negative 1. All right, so our vertex for this particular problem, all right, remember we do want to make sure we write it in the correct order. So our x coordinate is negative 4, and then the y coordinate is negative 1. All right, so what I would like you to do, all right, is just try one of these on your own here. All right, so go ahead, pause the video, all right, and try problem C. I'll have some coffee. You guys do the work. Oh, it's so good. So good. All right. Oh, let me undo that. No. Undo that. All right, there we go. All right, so hopefully you pause the video, you attempted problem C. Now I went ahead and did the work for problem C right here. All right, so hopefully when you plugged in your values here, you got x equals 4. And then when you went back and plugged 4 into your equation, you have a vertex of negative 3. All right, so now let's move on to now taking this and using it to graph. Oh, wrong way. Let me go back to this one. All right, so let's look at this together. Scroll down. All right. So like I said, the good news is the only difference between what we were doing yesterday and the prior lesson, what we're doing today, is that we just have to do more work to find the vertex. But notice our A, our 3A, our 5A, that is all the same, right? So if I come up here, right, and we know A in this particular problem is 1, right? So that's just like last time. A is 1. That means 3A is 3. We know 5A is 5. Okay, and so now we can go through and identify B, and that would be negative 2. All right, we're going to identify C, and that's 4. All right, make those look a little bit more like what we want them to look like here. All right, okay, and C equals there. Okay, and then once again, I'm just going to write this here so we have it. So X equals negative B over 2A. That's really bad. Let me try that again. All right, so maybe I haven't had enough coffee. Maybe. Let me slide this over here. Maybe that's part of the issue. All right. There we go. And that eraser just really wants to erase. I stop, it keeps going. Really likes doing its job. All right, so let me try this one more time. So x equals negative b over 2a. All right, so let's just come right down to this here. So x equals, all right, the opposite of b. Now, once again, b is negative, so the opposite of that makes that a positive number. All right, and then 2 times a, and a is 1 this time. So that is 2 divided by 2 equals 1. All right, and so now we want to take that and plug it back in to find our y value. So y equals, okay, and then that is 1 squared minus 2 times 1, and then plus 4. All right. And that should equal to 3. All right. And oh my goodness, that is just not a good 3 at all. All right. Stop eraser. Oh, gonna do whatever. All right. All right. So this is really struggling to get much done today. All right. So 3. All right. So our vertex is 1, 3. All right. So 1, 3. Once again, right here, right? And then now it's all the same, right? So a is 1. So up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the left 1, right? 3a, up 1, 2, 3 to the right 1, up 3 to the left 1. And let's see if I'm able to connect the dots. Almost there. My pen just keeps going. All right. And then I'm going to try to spin it this way. All right. So there you go. All right. So while my pen is drawing and I'm not, I would like you guys to pause the video and try example B. All right. Hopefully you're back. You're refreshed. I had more coffee. All right. I feel a little bit better. All right. I also have B worked right here. So I'm just going to jump to problem B here. So once again, A is -1. B is -4. C is -8. All right. So hopefully when you solve for your x-coordinate vertex, you have -2. You can see my work here. When you plug -2 in to get your vertex, hopefully you have this, and then you got -4, so our vertex would be -2, -4. A is 1, so down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the left 1, and then 3a would be down 3 to the right 1, down 3 to the left 1, and you get a curve that looks something like that. And that's really it. You can see that all the difference is the work in getting the vertex. Everything after that is pretty much the same. All right, so let's move to a few more problems here. I think what I want to do is I'm going to do one more with you, and then I'm going to have you guys do E and F to see how you do. But really the process is all the same, right? Nothing's really changing from here on out. It's just really more the same, being able to identify everything and kind of moving from there, right? So let me just write our shortcut formula up here for our vertex. So x equals, and then -b divided by 2a. So I'm going to go through one more with you here, just so you guys can see the complete process, and then you can jump into E and F. Now, and once again, when we're doing all these lessons, remember that at any point in time, you can always stop the videos, right? And you can go to work if you feel like, yep, I see it, I get it. You also have the full notes, right, that are posted online. So you can always kind of take a break from me and try to do these on your own if you feel like you get it after fewer examples. But we want to make sure everybody has enough based on what they need. So I'm going to go through this one. So A, in this case, is 2. B is 12. and C is 10. All right, so then, like I said, I'm coming down around here. I know A is 2. That means 3A is 6. Don't think we'll need 5A, so I'm not going to worry about that one right now. All right, so let's go to finding our vertex. So x equals, and so it's the opposite of B, so this time it would be negative 12 divided by 2 times A, so that'd be 2 times 2. All right, so that would equal to negative 12 divided by 4. Oh, my negative didn't stay there, so negative 12. All right, and that would give us negative 3 for our x-coordinate. And then once again, we just want to go back and plug that in. So y equals 2, and then I'm going to have negative 3 squared plus 12 times negative 3, and then plus 10. And just to save some time, I've already used my calculator, but if you were to put this in your calculator, all right, you should get negative 8. All right, so our vertex, all right, is negative 3 and negative 8. All right, so if I find negative 3 and negative 8, that would be right there. My A value is 2, so up 2 to the right 2, up 2 to the left 2. And then 3A would be up 6, so up 6 to the right one, up 6 to the left one will give me those points right there. And let's see if I can connect those guys. All right, mostly there. Oh, my pen. And that side's a little bit better. All right, so once again, what I'd like you to do, all right, is do E and F. All right, see how you do on those, whether you want to pause the video and then turn it back on and see me go through it, whether you want to turn the video off and go right to the note sheets and check your work from there. Any which way you do, go ahead and try E and F, and we'll see how you did. All right, so I'm going to go real quickly through problems E and F. All right, so on E, you can see that A is 3, B is 12, and C is 12. All right, so come down, the opposite of B would be negative 12, and then 2 times A would be 2 times 3. Negative 12 divided by 6 is negative 2. Now notice when I plug negative 2 back in, I get a y-coordinate of 0. So my vertex, all right, is also an x-intercept. All right, and so I'm going to start negative 2, 0. Now my A value is 3, so I'm going to go up 3 to the right one, up 3 to the left one. We run out of room, so we don't get to 3A, so we can just draw our curve. All right, now notice on F, A is negative 4, B is 8. Now notice there is no number out here. That means C is 0. All right, so when I go through here, the opposite of B this time would be negative 8. 2 times A would be negative 8, so I get negative 8 divided by negative 8, which is 1. When I plug 1 back in, I get a y value of 4. All right, so my vertex is 1, 4. All right, so I'm going to start at 1, 4. My A value is negative 4, so I'm going to go down 4 to the right one, down 4 to the left one. You might be able to sneak negative 12 in just off the graph here, but those 3 points are good enough. All right, my friends, that wraps up this lesson on graphing in vertex form. All right, so take a look at the homework. All right, go through that. Once again, if you have questions, email us, contact us, come to the Google Hangouts. All right, we look forward to hearing from you. All right, enjoy some Star Wars. All right, maybe some Marvel stuff. We're going to start our Marvel marathon after we do our Star Wars marathon. So we'll see where you're at on all that. So take care of yourselves, take care of each other. We'll see you soon.